Hello and welcome everybody. Janet Beckers here with Romance Your Tribe Radio, and I'm so excited to introduce you to my beautiful guest this morning, Heather Yelland. Hey Heather.
Hi Janet, lovely to be here and lovely to join you and your tribe.
Yeah, well, one of the reasons why I truly wanted to introduce you to Heather is simply because she's one of my favorite people. Heather and I have gone back years and years and years ago through a girlfriend of ours, Joey Martin, who was one of the first people I interviewed years ago when I was starting off my business. and Heather was a really integral part of that team, and we got to know each other really well through there. Now, our relationship and our friendship's gone on for years, so much so that Heather's actually one of the strongest mentors for my son, Clancy.
Yes, and a little in love with him too, Janet, I might say.
Yeah, we can tell that you are too, because she's just made such beautiful influence. So we're going to talk a little bit about how that came about. Mm-hmm. And also, Heather is also one of these people that everybody feels, very, very special to her. She has that ability to really engender trust within a tribe. So much so that you've even won trust awards, wasn't it?
Yeah, 2015 I was voted the most trusted business leader in the country, which sounds a bit knobby, but I think if there was an award that I wanted to win, Janet, that was it, because I really think that we've reached a time where in business we need to go back to the basics, and one of the fundamentals in any relationship is trust.
Oh, absolutely. And the interesting thing was I found out later I was nominated for that, and I had already gone and voted as many times as I could for Heather. Because
damn.
Yes, Heather has to win.
That's very sweet.
So what we're going to talk about today is a few things. One is I really want to dive a little deeper into how does Heather have that beautiful trust within a tribe where people have never ever met her. So core to doing that. And then also I've seen the evolution of Heather's business and its growth and the impact that it's making. So we're going to dive into her branding and the growth of her business, and how you can follow the process that Heather has used to be able to build this beautiful, strong brand. So that's what we're going to dive into. Now, before we do that, first of all, over to Heather. Now, we are going to attempt to try to give you the maximum value in about 20-25 minutes max. So to start with, to cut to the chase, Heather, can you please share with us who do you serve and how do you do that?
Sure. Look, in really simple terms, the people that we serve are those invested in their own growth.
Right.
So, but we do that through largely through 4 streams. So the company has 4 streams to it. EC, Elevate Children, which is all about serving children and the people who support them. So families, teachers, communities. Secondly, Elevate People, which is personal growth programs for anyone who's interested in their own growth and development and leadership.
Yep.
Third, Elevate Business, and that's all of our business consulting, particularly focused on the development of culture and values-based leadership. And then our 4th area is Elevate Humanity, and that's a whole range of different things that we offer and get involved in to support other people from a sort of a charitable perspective. Not just here in Australia. We do work in India, Africa, Indonesia, Myanmar, and New Zealand. So,
wow. Wow, that's huge impact. And I love how you're so clear on the 4 different levels that you do, because your company is the Elevate Company. That was
the Elevation Company, yes. So the Elevation Company is the sort of the overarching name of the company, but those 4 streams of service sit underneath.
Yeah, that's fantastic. So we're going to dive into that clarity, of what you've done there. Now, before we do that, let's just talk a little bit about your very first one, which is where I've had a lot of contact with Heather over the last few years. So we're just going to indulge us both here because we have a mutual person we love. And it's actually through one of those streams that Heather does. So could you give us in a nutshell about your Green Super Camps?
Yeah. So Green Supercamp is basically the result of, I was actually sitting having a conversation with Roger Hamilton one time in Bali, and he said to me, you're one of the most passionate people I know, but when you talk about your business, the way that it's structured at the moment, I don't feel the passion. And I said, well, pass the cocktails, because nor do I. And so it became fairly clear that something needed to change. And he said, well, what are you passionate about? And I said, I'm passionate about kids. Unfortunately, it was never able to have them. But, the universe works in strange ways. I now have 8.
Right.
All of which are stepchildren to me, but means that I get to mother on a daily basis. So I think that as a result of that conversation with Roger, what I really started thinking about, Janet, was how do you create opportunities for the stuff that you love to inform the way that you make your difference in the world every day? And lots of people had said to me, we know you love kids, don't do that, there's no money in that, etc. And I thought, well, what about if there didn't need to be?
Right.
What about if I actually grew my business in a way that it was so successful that I could do whatever the hell I want to support children and play with children and spend time with children and learn from children, without needing it to return me a financial return. Now, I think when you set out with that, what I call the heart investment rather than the financial investment, the universe has a way to conspire to give you what you want. I'm really clear about who the hell I am and what I stand for. And I think that's been the crucial aspect of the success of my my business and the growth of the team that I now get to work with every day. Because I sort of thought, well, I love kids. I do love kids and I want to spend time with them. I'm like the biggest kid of all the kids. So what opportunities are there for me to do that and not have to make the money? And I thought, well, our business consulting is the growing area of the business. What happens if we look at ways that we can make money out of that and then take the cream off the milk, as it were, and support the children's program? So we did some research, discovered Supercamp in America, which is an American-based program but runs all over the world and has been running for, I think they're entering their 39th year or something. And I made contact with them and said, want to come to Australia, pretty much. And what I didn't know at the time, which was great, was that they'd been trying to come here for about 18 years and had 12 different partners in that time, but it had never worked.
Right.
And it was great that I didn't know that, because I might have been a little more nervous. But once we ran our first very successful program, the co-founder from America came out for that program. And, and told me that. And I said, well, I figure it was just because you were waiting for me, or I was waiting to find you guys or something. And it's grown exponentially from there. So we've run, in fact, we just ran in October this year, program number 13 here in Australia.
Fantastic.
And we've run 3 years of it in Bali as well, in Indonesia. We've now taught the Indonesian people to run it for themselves, which is terrific. It's an incredible program and provides really great personal leadership, academic acceleration and environmental awareness for kids from, all over Australia mostly, but we always get about 10 to 15 kids from New Zealand. This time we had kids from Myanmar, Indonesia, Sri Lanka, Canada. I think that's all I can think of off the top of my head.
And for me, it's a real peek into the kind of work that you do with your corporates, because my son Clancy went, he had a high scholarship actually, which was really nice. And you got to apply, why should your child go? And I basically said, look, this kid is fantastic. He's really funny. He's really, all these things that are wonderful about him, but I just can't work out if he knows what lights his passion up, this kid's capable of anything. But he just doesn't know what he's passionate about. And so this kid's driving me crazy. So if you can help him work out the passion, you've done your job. And I tell you what, the difference in this boy, once he'd been able to go through such a wonderful process, and really to tap into what lights him up. Like, it was just like, that was all he needed. And so, so we've seen that amazing process. And of course now, Heather keeps on inviting him back, and he's now training for leadership, and, it's a big part of his life. So we get to see all the time the process, and we get to practice a lot of the techniques because he brings them home and we have to use them.
Practice on the family and all.
So that's, for anybody that wants to know about that, we will put the links here for you to be able to know about Green Super Camp, because you've got to send your kids there. It makes such a huge difference. So
but I think, Janet, there is gold in there for the people who are listening to this conversation. They'd be thinking, okay, so where are the parallels? What does that mean for me? How can I learn from that? And I think there's a few things that stand out for me. One is get really clear about what it is that lights your fire. Get clear about what it is that makes you want to get out of bed every day and make a hell of a difference and leave a legacy. And that for me was about working with children. Number two is, if that doesn't enable the opportunity for you to make the money that you want to make to build your business and have the kind of lifestyle that you want, find other ways. Like, don't box yourself in. So from my perspective, it was about, okay, I knew I was probably going to blow somewhere between 15 and 20 grand on that first program. So I thought, well, I've got to find a way to put together 15 or 20 grand. So then I thought, well, okay, what am I good at? I'm a speaker. I'm really good at speaking. Okay, with whom can I partner in order to spread the word about the Green Super Camp Australia program, but also to ask for support to make it possible for young people to come along if they weren't able to pay their own way. So it's like, who can help? Why are you doing it? I guess I sort of, this is the process I run myself through. Why am I doing it? And I don't ask or answer any other questions until I've got pages and pages and pages of answers to that. And I literally will book time, date myself, and I do it during business hours, not during personal hours. I actually book appointments with myself, and I sit down and I just write, why does this matter? Why is this important? Why does it speak to me? Why does it call to me? Why will I commit to this above anything else, even if it all goes wrong or the shit hits the fan and I don't know which way to go forward? Why? Get really clear about that.
That's great. Yep.
Then get clear about, okay, so what's the what? What is it I want to achieve? What is it I need to do? What is it I need to be? Get clear then. I write and I write and I write until I've got the what clear. And then I ask the who. Who's done it before me that I can learn from? Who's currently doing it that I might partner with? With whom could I develop a partnership or a collaboration, or even who could I join for a little while? And in fact, Paul Dunn, who is the co-founder of Buy One, Give One, or B1G1 as we know it, Paul and I had a conversation that was about 3.5 years ago, in fact, and he was part of the incredible influence that helped me to redefine the name of the company and the way that I do business. And I remember in the conversation with Paul, he said, Heather, I know 2 or 3 people that have done a similar thing that I think you should talk to. And that's exactly what I did. And I rang those people and I said, Paul suggested I should speak with you. I'd really love to buy you a coffee or shout you lunch and take an hour of your time. And this is what I'm working on, and this is what I'd love to hear from you. And I guarantee that if you're prepared to do that, I will give you the results of my research. And absolutely followed through and honoured that commitment.
Right.
Then I think once you've got the why, the what, and the who sorted out, there's a far greater sense of momentum and flow, and you feel much stronger about your certainty in what it is that you're doing. So then putting together the bones of it. I think the big trouble for us in the Western world is, as soon as there's a dilemma, we go straight to how.
Right.
You know,
Yes.
here's my problem.
Absolutely.
How can I fix it? From
Yeah.
politicians to law to whatever.
Yeah.
Here's the problem. How do I fix it? And in my experience, all the how question does is amplify the energy. So if you're asking that question from an energy of expansion and possibility and innovation, great. You'll get more expansion, possibility, and innovation. Most of us ask the how questions from a place of pain or deprivation or lack or uncertainty.
I love that, Heather. That is a huge clarifying point for, I know, a lot of people who are listening here, because that is that classic thing, is you do the how because you solve a problem.
Correct.
Yeah.
Don't even ask how until you're clear about the why, the what, the who, and the when.
Yeah.
And once you get clear about that, you know, it's like a funnel. The how steps kind of fall out the bottom with a real clarity and sense of certainty. But then if something that you choose to do in terms of how doesn't work, you don't get dissuaded, you don't get shaken off, because you've got that absolute clarity of why you're doing it, what you're wanting to do, who it is that can help you, or who it is you're trying to serve.
Yeah.
All of us can pull ourselves out of bed even on horrible days when we've got that level of clarity and we've got that emotional engagement or emotional investment.
So a few things that you've said there that I'd like to just dive into for people to be able to apply. Now, one of the things you talked about was with the why.
Yep.
Because, you know, that's the big energy. And I love how you were saying about your why was working with children. But then you did a reality check and thought, actually, that's going to be a really difficult way to make the money. So when it comes to people who you work with, because I know that this is a core part that you do, not just with the kids, but also with your corporate clients, is getting into that why. Because I find when I talk to this with people, they can tend to fall into a few categories. They will go, oh my God, I'm so shallow. I don't have a big, overarching, life-changing why. But then if they go, well, I just basically want to make a shitload of money, that also is not a strong enough why for when things get tough. So I know that this is stuff that you do with people all the time. Is there any advice that you can give on that part there?
Yes, absolutely. Two things. One, go and watch Simon Sinek's TED Talk on why, Sinek, Simon Sinek. Simon and I have different interpretations of exactly what the why is all about, but his TED Talk is a really great first cut of why is important. The second thing is, most of us have either had a 3-year-old, currently have a 3-year-old, or know somebody else's 3-year-old. Yeah. And one of the things that's lovely about 3-year-olds is that their little brains are undergoing such changes, and there's so many wonderful things happening in the firing and wiring of their neuroscience, if you like, that they ask why a lot. And even though spending too much time with them starts to feel a bit frustrating, because it feels like they're asking why just to annoy us. Yeah. They ask why to create meaning.
Right. Yeah.
So just do the same thing. Sit down with a pad and say, right, why does this business matter to me? Well, because I love to serve people. Okay, service. Why is service important? I love to make a contribution. Great, contribution. Why does contribution matter? Why is that important? I guess it gives me a sense of fulfillment. Great. Why is fulfillment important? It helps me to sort of connect with who I really am and the reason I was born. Okay, connection. Why is connection important? And so on it goes. And one of the things that we love to do with people is help them to understand what we call their big why. And to us, your big why is the essential energy that must be in all things for you to be content. Okay. And in my case, Janet, you know, I do love to hang out with kids, and I do particularly love to be around them. And I think perhaps part of the reason for that is because I wasn't able to have my own.
Yeah.
But then I started to think, well, what is it? Why do I love to be with kids? It's the sense of connection. It's that pure presence. It's the honesty of the way that they engage with you. And so then I started unpacking that a little bit more and saying, well, it's actually the why behind connecting with kids for me is not about the kids, it's about the connection.
Right. And so the purity of connection, perhaps, that you
absolutely,
get.
but my big why is connection. So whether I'm working with Macquarie Bank, Blackmores, some of the bigger clients that we have, or whether I'm sitting having one-to-one conversations with young people at Super Camp, as I did with your beautiful son, the juice in that, the what feeds my soul in that is the connection.
Right.
So when you get really clear about that, like you get to a point where you're able to say, there it is, that is my why. We sometimes refer to it as the thing that calls to your soul.
And you know what I really love about this, Heather, is you're not having to articulate something like, I'm going to bring water to developing countries where they can't have clear water. Like, you don't have to articulate something huge that you go, I should think that. But really deep down, it's not the thing that's getting me out of bed. Whereas what you're talking about is that real energy, that integral, which, that connectedness, you totally tapped into that. That's brilliant.
Yeah.
I've actually done quite a bit of work on this myself, working out what is absolutely core to everything I do and what comes really naturally. And it's love. Like, love is actually in our mission statement of, it's everything. The first thing I do when somebody comes into our company is, how are you going to demonstrate love? How are you going to bring love into every interaction? So then you have to define, well, what does love mean to you? Love does not have, love for different people is different. But for me, the love is about connectedness and making people truly believe in themselves.
Yeah.
That's a real buzz. So I really like that there can be your why. You can take the pressure off yourself.
And, in the sense that I'm speaking with the Queen of Vibe, the Queen of, I should say that the Queen of Tribe, your vibe attracts your tribe.
Yep, spot on.
And that is it. So if you show up with a vibe of uncertainty and, lack of clarity and all those sorts of things, then those are the people that your vibe attracts. So if we talk to the kids at Super Camp about this, your vibe attracts your tribe. If you turn up to camp going, oh, camp sucks and I didn't even want to come and my parents made me, you're going to find a whole bunch of kids who also feel like it sucks and didn't even want to be there. And that's then going to be the way that you construct your reality. If that's what you want, knock yourself out.
Yeah.
But if it's not what you want, and if you look at the kids who are engaging with the activity and drawing a huge amount from it, and you want some of that, shift your vibe. That's a personal accountability thing. And it's the same for us in business. Why is it that some people, Heather's so lucky? Yeah, I am. But I am because I create it.
Yep.
And I create it with the vibe. And the vibe that then attracts my tribe is that sense of certainty. And it's interesting because, Janet, in many ways there was a fairly significant cost to me in setting Super Camp up. And I still probably tip in somewhere between 10 and 15 grand per program. Although the at-camp cost is now cost neutral because of the numbers that we have at the program.
Yeah.
But I don't care, because it's interesting that even though what I did was set out to run a program that allowed me to just help young people understand and believe in and love who they are, and I didn't care whether I made money out of it or not, it's become a huge marketing strategy for us. And in fact, we were commissioned to run a program for YPO, Young Presidents Organisation, or World Presidents Organisation, which is sort of the creme de la creme, if you like, of business people around the world. And we did that, a parent-child program we ran for them. And it was the highest rating family program that YPO across the world has ever run. And the sponsor of that program was admitted into the Hall of Fame for International YPO. And off the back of that, I then got to be in contact with about 25 extraordinary business people, 3 of whom are now coaching clients of ours.
Fantastic.
So, and one of whom is a business consulting client. So, in fact, one of our biggest pieces of work going on in the company at the moment is a piece of work that came to us from that program. So you just never know. It's about being. It's if I break it down, one, know who the hell you are and why you do what you do.
Excellent.
Two, structure that into the way that you tell the story about what you offer. I could stand here, Janet, and say to you, oh, you know, I and our team work with Corporate Australia at businesses across the country who do this. Who cares? Nobody's listening anymore. Here's the reason we do what we do. Because we fundamentally believe that all anyone wants is to love and be loved and to be known, loved and got for who they truly are. Be that in life or in business. So what we do is we grow people and we help them to connect to and express more of the truth of who they are.
Brilliant.
We do that whether it's at Super Camp, whether it's in our personal growth programs for adults, whether it's in our business consulting. I turn up literally to the big four banks when I'm having conversations with them, and I talk about, I'm going to teach you how to love your people. If you're not up for that, tell me now. I won't waste your time and you don't get to waste mine.
Excellent.
Interesting that the big four said, there's the door, not as frankly as that.
Right.
And Macquarie said, well, God knows we could do with a dose of that.
That's fantastic. And that's the other side. So as well as you being, you know, you've got your why. I love how you said you weave that into your story, because the next part about that then is it means that it allows, you're getting off the fence. You're getting a splinter out of your bum from sitting on the fence and being able to say, well, this is what we believe. Now, that's our tribe. That's our vibe. That's who we want to work with. So you could very clearly, you know, your people who don't want to be part of that could very clearly go, no, this is not where we belong. We kind of belong over with those really boring ones.
Yeah.
But the ones who can relate, so like the corporate with the Macquarie, or like the people who work with you one-on-one, is they not only go, oh, yeah, that sounds good. They go, oh, that's
thank God.
Fantastic. So I absolutely love that. So in us wrapping up, so we've got the super clear on your why. We're weaving that into your story, which I just absolutely love. Then we've got the sort of like the adding in there of, you know, get the splinter out of your bum, get off the fence, because that's where you're going to get the clients who you love working with.
And that level of clarity will allow you to say no to tire kickers, because tire kickers refer other tire kickers.
Yes, good point. Absolutely. That's brilliant. That's brilliant.
And there's probably one other thing I would say, Janet, and that is understand the difference between growth and change and how you relate to both.
Okay.
Yeah, because I think a lot of us, especially if you're looking to either you're starting out your business or you're looking to expand your business, a lot of us will say things like, oh, yes, well, I really love to grow and I really like to grow and I'd very much like, and as soon as I go, okay, well, that's going to require you to change, they go and stop breathing.
Right.
Most of us want growth.
Yeah.
Very few of us engage with and enjoy change. If you don't engage with and enjoy change, that's okay, but know that up front and don't let it become a constraint to you. Build in the supports and the structures and the systems that will help you to overcome yourself, really, when the fear of the change strikes. Right. And the other thing that I would encourage people to think about is, especially if you're a small business or maybe a solopreneur, and you're thinking to yourself, yeah, well, it's all very well to say outsource the stuff that takes you out of flow, but I don't have the money to outsource. You don't need it. You don't need it. The very first person that I brought into my team 8 years ago was a mum looking for an opportunity to re-hone her skills because she'd been out of the workforce for 12 years. She worked with me for 12 months for nothing.
Wow.
And still believes that she got the better end of the deal.
Right. That's so fantastic
Think differently about where the supports are available. Kids that are doing study at university need the opportunity to practice their skills. If you provide the context or the opportunity, the possibility for them to do that, they'll often provide the assistance free of charge or at cost only. You know, be innovative about the way that you think about where the opportunities and the possibilities are. But when you back yourself, you know what you stand for, and you put out a vibe of that, those people and opportunities are often coming to you, instead of saying, well, look, I don't really like to work with, fill in this name here, but at the moment it's paying the bills.
Yeah.
Because while you're doing that, the insert name here people are saying, well, this is great because I'm getting heaps of good outcome for not much money. I'm going to refer my mates who want a cheap deal. And suddenly you've got an entire client load of cheap deals. I remember when we moved our fees, our day rate fees from $4,000, which is what they were at the time, $4,000 a day, and I thought that was pretty steep. And I went, you know what, stuff it. What would happen if I just changed it to 10? It wasn't as simple as when I woke up tomorrow, I'm going to make it 10. It was, who would I need to be?
Yeah.
What would I need to believe?
Yep.
And why would I need to think I have a right? And once I had the answers to those questions, I went back to my existing clients and I said, 3 months from now, if we're still working together, I need you to know my fee's going up to this. I lost 2 clients, but I gained about 8 of what I would call higher caliber clients.
Fantastic.
Who then refer me to other high caliber clients.
Excellent. Excellent. You've just given an amazing wealth of wisdom here, Heather.
You're welcome.
Truly have. So as a wrap up, because I'm looking at our time, making sure that we're getting
sharp,
spot on, we're totally sharp, is in that wrap up, I think that the key things that I really want people to have to look at is really those tapping into your why. And then, you know, there's some, so, you know, we've got some fantastic strategies there to be able to do that. Now, getting around to the who, because you did a really nice loop then when you've talked about the who you get to help. And it's really because you're super clear on your why. And so that was a really nice example to show how to be able to use that, including the way that you used that when you were first growing your business, to be able to see, how do I get to do what I love and to fund it? So putting those points going across is really, and then seeing how that you can get absolutely super clear then on what it is that you do and who you want to work with. So I absolutely love that. So what I would really ask everybody that's listening here, hopefully you've been taking lots of notes. And, you know, on the website here, we're going to have all the transcripts and the summary notes and all the links, so you can go back there as well. But what I do ask you to do is for Heather and I to be here. Like, you can tell that both of us, we genuinely care about you getting results. It's what drives both of us. And so for us to spend this time here is a gift for us. You know, it's a gift to us as well as a gift to you. What would be incredibly, you know, a gift, real gift to us is if you get in contact with Heather. So whether it's going to be, we'll put your contact details down below, anywhere that you connect with Heather, whether it's dropping her an email, whether it's stalking her on Facebook, but let her know one thing, at least one thing, a big aha from today, something that you have done, because nothing will give both of us greater pleasure, and I especially know Heather, to know that we've made a change.
Yeah, so, absolutely.
So to do that, what's the best way where people can go to find out more about what you do, Heather? And to, you know, if they're interested in working with you, how do they find out?
Yeah, look, the best way is just to make contact with us. We'll find out what we're up to and get a sense of who we are. There's videos and information, that sort of thing on the website, which is theelevationcompany.com. theelevationcompany.com. But also to just shoot us an email, admin@theelevationcompany.com.au is our best option. Pardon me, or you can shoot me an individual one at info@heatheryelland.com.
Excellent.
But yeah, and of course, I am very fortunate to work with an extraordinary team of people. So, you know, you might be interested to hear their views on what it's like to be a part of the company as well, particularly if you're wanting to look at, you know, adding staff to your team. So I mean, anyone in our team would be more than happy to answer your questions or give you some insights on what it's like to be a part of the Elevation Company's family, as we like to call it.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for your time, Heather. I could just spend days, literally, and we will.
I think you've done quite well to keep it to 20 minutes, I don't you think, or 20 or 25 or whatever.
It is a difficult thing to do. We've done well.
For us.
Yeah. Okay. Bye, everybody, and can't wait to see what action you take from today. Bye.
Thanks, Janet.